Hello, welcome to another video from EarnPed.com. I'm Stevie B. We are doing Halloween Mayhem 2022. Let's get right to it. We're going to be doing survival today. Let's go into the instance. We'll get started. So, catch you guys up to speed. Survival is different than Annihilation. It actually takes a lot of tactical planning and a lot of game mechanics. There are 25 stages. Each stage has 10 phases. In those phases, you have to capture a checkpoint at stages 3, 6, and 9. So we're just going to get directly into it. We're going to start off with no pills. Now, as you complete stages, I can go back and do stages over, or I can just keep progressing. So I'm on stage 6, so we're going to go ahead and start. I had the wrong armor on. That's no good. So as you go, they do get stronger. And I do have to have the sound up. I apologize that it's very, very loud, but there are sound cues. So I'm going to try and turn the sound down just a hair for you guys. That way it's not totally in your ears. So I'll turn it down just a bit. So there are sound cues in this. You'll see pumpkins in the background. There was one just a while ago. The pumpkins can have tricks or treats as buffs. So that pumpkin right there could give me a really good buff, or it could have a trick in it which would debuff me. Now notice there's also a timer for each phase. So I tried just running the timer down because you would think just surviving would be enough. It is not. I can tell you that right off the bat. If you do not kill all the creatures, you will fail. You will not be able to progress to the next stage. As the phases go, there will be more and more creatures. It gets pretty unbearable, especially around phase 7 or 8. Specifically 8 becomes very unbearable. And then there's a boss mob on phase 10 that is very difficult to deal with. So last night I put out a video. I have since taken it down. I asked if any of my friends out there, very, very good friends, would loan me an adjusted restoration ship. I did have a friend who came all the way from Next Island to bring me an adjusted restoration ship, because last night I figured out as I was running the first couple of stages of survival, there's kind of a key to survival that I never really picked up on before. But I noticed how I was interacting with the mobs, and I noticed something I'd seen JBK do once on a stream. And I realized the kind of damage I was taking, and I realized I'd been missing something whenever it came to the tactical part. So I'm hoping to showcase that. So essentially, the key to this whole thing is as you're going through here, you're going to want to target these dogs first. You don't want to target the zombies first. The dogs generally are easier to kill, they're faster to kill. So that's who you're going to want to target first, no matter what stage you're on. When it gets to phase 10, where you have that boss mob, it's very possible you're going to have to just let the boss mob be alive, and you're going to have to take down all the other mobs first, starting with the dogs, then the zombies. And see how I'm kind of jumping around in a circle? This is where I picked it up from JBK, so thanks JBK. You actually move faster sideways than you do front to back. And when you're jumping, it tends to help, I think. I'm not sure if it tends to help. It seems like it helps, and JBK was doing a lot of jumping like this. It's very annoying, but it does seem to help out tremendously. It also makes it easier to target the mobs, especially when there's a lot of them. Right now there's only 1 or 2, so it's not that difficult, but it gets very difficult very quickly. So this allows you to target the dogs instead of having to rely on targeting just whatever and ending up targeting a zombie. So this is very, very, very helpful. So by doing that, you're essentially able to run fast enough to do the kind of damage you're wanting to do while targeting the mob you're wanting to target. So I'm already on phase 2 now. Phase 2 is starting, so we're going to have more mobs than we did last time. Again, we're going to target doggies first. We might have to let the phase 10 boss stay alive. And then that's where the adjusted restoration ship comes into play. So you notice I am taking some amount of damage. So the adjusted restoration ship is great because it allows you to heal very, very quickly, do a lot of healing, and you're able to very quickly switch back and forth between the adjusted restoration ship and your primary weapon. It has a very, very fast switching period. It's almost instantaneous. So you're able to go back and forth very, very quickly, which is super, super helpful. I'm actually targeting the zombie right now. I shouldn't be. So that being said, that's essentially what you want to do, is you want to target the dogs first. You want to try and go sideways while jumping because you're moving faster. And you want to have an adjusted restoration ship so you can heal and also be switching back and forth very quickly between your primary weapon and the adjusted restoration chip, as you just saw me do. And as you can see, this is helping out absolutely tremendously. I'm actually going to switch weapons. and adjust the restoration chip, and there you go. So I think you guys get the idea. I actually need to be taking some pills right now. I'm not. I don't have time to, but I need to be. So as you can see, even in stage 6, they're already hard to deal with. Especially, it gets ridiculously hard, ridiculously fast, which is why it's all so important to go together. I mean, you can't get a single piece of it wrong, or you're just not going to get anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and pop some pills here. And getting those checkpoints, I'm pretty sure you have to kite through the checkpoints. I'm pretty sure that's a big key to the whole thing. Is jumping around while you're in the checkpoints right here, doing that whole jump thing. See how I'm still capturing the checkpoint while I'm jumping. So of course on stage, or phase 3, it's not that difficult. But it will get harder on stage 6. It's going to be harder on phase 6 and 9 of stage 6. So I can't even imagine what it's going to be at the higher levels. Obviously, armor plays a big deal. The zombies do have acid damage, in addition to a lot of electric attacks going on right here. They will actually say acid zombie, so you know that they do acid damage. Obviously, pills are very, very important. Metastim, it can be very important, especially in the later phases. So if you get to like phase 10 and you're just surrounded by mobs and you're able to do it, but you just get totally jacked up. So you've captured all 3 checkpoints, you made it to phase 10, and it's just a matter of staying alive. Metastim can be super, super invaluable. Nutristim also, because Nutristim reduces the damage that you take, the critical damage that you take. So Nutristim can be extremely, extremely important as well. Now, do I think I'm going to make it through all 20 to 25 phases? I think there's 25 this year instead of 20. No, not even close. If I can make it to stage 8 or 9, I'm going to be absolutely stoked. The other thing is they do debuffs as they hit you. So like I just got one, Rage Infection, 1 minute 55 seconds. I lose a quarter of an HP every 3 seconds or something like that. So there's a lot that goes on with survival, to say the least. And it's a lot of mechanic. Also a lot of having the right gear. You got to be sure that you're putting out a ton of DPS. The problem is, I'm running 83 DPS. I'm running tier 10 full damage enhancer. So, you know, as you guys saw, I was critting for 900 the other day. This is the same gun, same setup. I might be doing a little bit less on the crits, but not a ton less. So I'm hitting for 200, 250 every single shot. Okay, well this is only stage 6. So if they get infinitely stronger, infinitely quickly, then it can't be a DPS thing. It has to be a mechanic thing, right? Now, armor plays a huge, huge part. Obviously, this is where JBK shines. He's got some of the best armor money can buy. I love his RX armor. It is absolutely amazing. So if he throws some acid plates on that, super, super valuable. Also, the Tesla pet, or Tesla pod pet, I should say. You know, that thing has a buff that if you are taking electric damage, essentially as you heal yourself, I think it comes with like a 50% increased heal buff or something like that. So, very, very nice pet, amazing buff, super, super handy, especially when Mayhems roll around. Unfortunately, not everybody has 8,000 to 10,000 ped to spend on a pet. And huge, huge thanks to the homie that loaned me his adjusted restoration chip. Obviously, I would have been toast already if not for that. So really, really appreciate that. Plus, I've never got to use one before. Just never invested in one. Great chip. Absolutely amazing. Love it. So really, really appreciate that. I'm not going to throw his name out there because I don't know if he wants me to throw his name out there, but it was one of the homies from the society that hit me up and was like, bro, if you need one, I got you. I was like, appreciate it, bro. So, the benefits of YouTube, right? So that being said, survival is definitely not going to be for everybody. There's a very select group of players in-game that actually make it through a decent amount of the stages. I am not one of them. I will tell you that straight up. I will tell you that out the gate, I am not one of them. If I make it to stage 8 or 9, I'm going to be just absolutely tickled pink. I made it to stage 5 last year. I could not complete stage 6. And I think I was missing a large part of the mechanics. I also don't like the way they did it, because we've already got something called Annihilation. We've already got something where I've got to try and kill all the creatures, where it's just a kill fest. I think they should have made it where if you can just survive, you progress to the next stage. Now, that would allow people to both be very, very good at the game and mechanics and planning. It would also allow people to be good in another way, where you're still good with mechanics and planning, but you're essentially just figuring out a way to not die, which is still going to be infinitely difficult, and it would probably be infinitely more expensive because of the amount of medicine pills you would need. Capturing the checkpoint has never been a thing that I liked about this. I just never have. Even when it was a competition, I didn't like it. And when it was a competition, I mean, at 45 minutes, you just had to take off running. There was no really doing anything about it. I think I made it an hour and 10 minutes one time. And there was somebody who made it like almost 3 hours. I was absolutely shocked. They must have been really good at kiting the mobs like this and capturing the checkpoints while doing it. They must have been absolutely stupendous at it, because I can't even imagine. And they were in the same category I was back when it was a competition. So now we're on phase 5 of stage 6. Obviously, this is where critical chance and critical damage play a massive role. As you can see, I've had a much easier time ever since I took those pills. The added reload speed helps. The extra run speed is tremendous. But really, it's the added critical chance and the added critical damage, once again, coming to the rescue. And that's why I said the other day that critical chance and critical damage output are so tremendously helpful. I was talking to Jack Ace Kingsman, the guy that I told you guys owns the blueprint to make the Salafa 1, 2, and 3 laser sights that do all that increased critical damage. And I told him, I said, you know, I think if more people understood critical chance, I think they would see the difference very, very quickly. What I think happens is people get stuff that increases critical damage, but they're not increasing their critical chance, and then they don't really get any real value out of it. They're really just wasting a lot of their money. Because if you're increasing your critical damage output but not increasing your critical chance, you're only doing half the battle. That's like waking up to go to work and getting your keys but then walking and not taking your car. Kind of the same thing. So I actually suggested, I was like, man, it might be kind of helpful if you actually start selling AccuStim pills to explain to people that if you're going to use these laser sights, you might want to increase your chance of getting a crit while you're at it. Because I think if people would pair the laser sights with AccuStim pills, even if you don't get something like the Easter 2022, I think it would be a game changer for a lot of people. So as you can tell, this has made it substantially easier now that I have added critical chance, now that I have added critical damage output from the Devastim pills. So much easier. And I've captured the checkpoint, so now that I've captured the checkpoint, I'm just going to keep on going. Got a lot of zombies to deal with. And this is essentially it. You just rinse and repeat. Now, luckily, I don't have to do a lot of kiting right now because they're not all ganging up on me. But wait till we get to phase 8 here in a minute. You will see what I mean. It's going to take a lot of kiting. And here the kiting begins. Okay, so you might not even have to wait to get there. See, target doggies first. Doggies first. Sorry, I got a text message I had to deal with. So as you can see, the kiting comes in handy because, like I said, you run faster sideways. This is why if you have two quads of equal speed in space, it's actually possible for one quad to outrun another to the point that the first quad can escape in a PvP situation. And people don't understand how that's possible. It's because of the fact that you go faster sideways. I don't know if the jumping helps. The jumping actually seems to make it even faster. Maybe that's just a JBK thing, but I'm going with it because it seems to work very, very well. Probably going to have to use another Neuro A here in a minute. I like Neuro A because it also increases your run speed. My run speed's completely maxed out. It's capped in all directions. It's capped from the item side, and it's capped from the action side, and it's capped from the total side, so that helps out tremendously. And also, it helps, especially like around phase 7, phase 8, if you look at your radar, because sometimes, especially at the beginning of a phase, you can tell where the mob is going to be. It actually will show up on the radar before it actually shows up visually. So I can tell where on the map the mob's going to be, so I know where to start pointing my gun before the mob actually is in my visual range of sight. So that is something very, very important to keep in mind also. So to give you guys an example of the pumpkins, I received might, so I now do 50% more damage for a limited time. So that is a good treat. That's a treat, not a trick. However, some of the pumpkins do have tricks in them, and they will debuff you. So the pumpkins are you know, use at your own risk. Back when it was a competition, they would have barrels, and you would shoot the barrels, and you would get them filled up where they only had one shot left, and they would explode. And essentially, you would try and get all the mobs near the barrel, and then you would explode the barrel and do a lot of damage to the mobs all at once. So you wanted to save that for really late in the stage. We don't do that anymore. That's not really a thing. What I have noticed in previous years, I haven't seen it so much this year, but in previous years what I've noticed is that survival tends to be easier to global in. I used to get a lot of globals in survival. A lot of globals. And this year, not so much. So I don't know if it's just luck this year, but it seemed like it was incredibly easy to global in survival in previous years. Even last year. I don't know why that is. Maybe it was just me, but it seemed that way. I did hit one global yesterday going through the first 5 stages, which seemed surprisingly low. So this is literally just rinse and repeat how it's going to be for every single stage. Now the question is, how long can I sustain it? Can I go 25 stages doing the same thing? Well, I don't think so. The mobs are going to get so strong at some point. My armor's not going to be adequate. My HP's not going to be adequate. It's just not going to work for me. However, if I can even get to, like I said, stage 8, 9, 10, I'm going to be exceptionally, exceptionally thrilled. Because what I pretty much have figured out, and that's why I want to make this video, sorry, I keep looking at my phone, is essentially once you get past stage 5, it's no longer a DPS problem. After stage 5, it's essentially a tactic problem. Do you have an adjusted restoration chip to allow you to heal, and then continue healing while you switch back to your primary weapon quickly? Do you have the right combination of pills? Do you have the right combination of buffs? Do you have the right combination of skills to kite sideways like this and target one mob at a time, starting with doggies first? So you want to target doggy first. Doggy was easy to take out, zombies not so much. Zombies are always going to be harder to take out. And notice that as they hit me, I'm taking damage. I'm getting debuffed as I get hit by these mobs. So I'm getting hit by Rage Infection, I'm getting hit by Debilitate. And notice how kiting the mobs, I'm actually able to more or less keep one mob in my focus so it doesn't get lost in the pack. Now, I do have 3% life still going at the moment, which is amazingly helpful. I will actually be switching to a Gamma Amp in later stages, because the Gamma Amp will actually increase that, I believe, to 5% total life steal. So notice that as we go to higher phases of the stage, the countdown timer gets higher. So I have more time to kill all the mobs on phase 9 than I'm going to have on phase 2. Also, the jumping, I think I figured out why JBK does it. When you jump, it essentially finds gaps that would not be there if you were standing stationary. And it will actually allow you to shoot through those gaps where you would not be able to shoot through those gaps if you were stationary. So this is only phase 8. And I am going to have to take another pill here in a second if I can hurry up and clear these guys out. Timing your pills is going to be very, very important for the simple fact of you don't want to let them run out, and you can't just stand still and take them. So like I'm almost out of Neuro A. I need to take another Neuro A here in just a second. Pop a Neuro A. Neuro A only lasts for 15 minutes. Acu and Devastim lasts for an hour. So that's very, very helpful. Also, if you're going to do stages back to back, it can be kind of helpful because you don't necessarily have to waste a lot of Deva. Hold on a second, guys. Okay, sorry guys, got a phone call, and nothing worse than getting a phone call in the middle of doing survival, especially when you're not on the super early stage 1, stage 2. Stage 1, stage 2 is pretty easy. So nothing like getting an inopportune phone call at an inopportune time, especially while shooting a YouTube video. I'm like, I can't talk, I've got to go. So I've got one more creature to kill here. We're going to finish up phase 8. We'll be on to phase 9, so we need to capture the checkpoint. Where's checkpoint? Checkpoint's dead ahead. Kill doggy. And checkpoint. Now, I suck at kiting them through the checkpoint. I can already tell you that. So I'm not looking forward to kiting these checkpoints when it comes to stage 7, 8, 9, or 10. I have no idea how far I'm going to get. I will let you guys know in a later video how far I actually make it, because I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to make it only through stage 6. I don't know if I'm going to make it all the way through stage 15. I have no idea. I've never actually done this before with this kind of a setup, a proper quote-unquote setup. I am lacking on the armor side, but that can't be avoided. So, but to have the adjusted restoration pill and to have the kiting ability and having the proper quote-unquote technique, a big part of it is even just realizing that you need to take out the dogs first because they're the easiest to take out, and realizing how much faster you run sideways. It's not something that's easy to do. My hand's already tired, so I see why people don't do stages back to back. I see why they take a break in between the stages and go do some annihilation, because my hand's already killing me. And it's only going to get worse as we go, because they're just going to get harder and harder to kill. And the harder they are to kill, the longer they're going to take to kill. I can't put out more DPS. It's not possible. Between having tier 10, having the amps on it, having all of that ready to go, having all the pills, the Deva and Akia, I'm not going to be putting out more DPS. So it's just going to be a matter of how fast can I kill them. And the higher the stage, the stronger they're going to be, so the harder they will be to kill. Very, very important. You don't want to stop moving if you can at all avoid it, because they will spawn so quickly. They will essentially trap you. And this is what used to happen whenever it was a competition. There would be so many mobs. You would have like 200 mobs around you, and you would just get trapped. You couldn't even jump over them at that point. So try not to back yourself into a corner. I'm not doing a very good job of that right now. I actually had the improved FEN FAP once when I was doing this. I rented it from a friend specifically for this event. And I literally just stood there in the middle of those mobs, and I just captured the checkpoint by standing there, not doing anything, not shooting, not anything, just healing myself with the improved FE and FAP. That was a pretty wicked moment. That was pretty sick, to say the least. And as you can see up in the left-hand corner, it says debilitate. So I do have some debuffs going on. Those debuffs are doing damage, which is why you keep hearing me go, ooh, ooh, and you see that 0.6. And the debuffs are stackable. They can stack 10, 15, 20 times deep, which is why the whole sideways jump kiting thing is also important. They hit you less often when you're doing the sideways kite and jump. I've noticed that even in Annihilation, if they happen to get close to me and I've got my Earthshocker on, if I start running sideways and I jump, they're not able to hit me nearly as often. They land one hit out of what would have normally been 4. So here we go with the big boss. Where's boss at? I want to try and take out boss if I can before a lot of mobs spawn here. I don't know if that's going to be possible. I want to try and do some damage to him bare minimum. But he's got a buff that allows him to be stronger than normal. So essentially, anytime I'm not shooting another mob, I'm going to be shooting boss mob. He's got a might buff that makes him very, very hard to kill. Very hard to kill. And this is why whenever you get to later stages, if you're able to see JBK doing like stage 20 or 25, you'll see that essentially what he's doing is he's not even paying attention to the boss mob. He's just trying to take out all the other mobs, and he just lets boss mob live until the very end. And then he takes out boss mob at the very end, because there's no point even trying to do damage to boss mob at the beginning. It's going to take him so long to take out all the other mobs. In this case, I'm still early enough on. I can do damage to him fast enough that even though it's a pain in the butt, if I can take him out, then it makes all the other mobs a little bit easier for me. And yeah, I'm going to have a lot of mobbies to deal with here in a second, but it's still going to be better than just having him hang around to the end. Now, I'm not going to be able to do that probably on stage 7. Probably my next stage, I'm probably not going to be able to do that. My next stage, I'm probably going to have to just save boss mob for the end. I mean, he's only level 40. Look how much time it is taking me to deal with him. Trying to focus on doggy here. There we go. Kiting and shooting doggy. Now we shoot zombie, and I can see red dots on my radar already, so I know there's already a couple of other mobs that have spawned in the instance. And now, if I can knock him out, I can go deal with those. And boss mob's down. Okay, good. Now we just got zombies and doggies. Regular zombies, regular doggies. One thing I am noticing is I haven't seen a whole lot of them this year that just the regular mobs say might. Now, notice it says level 9 survival acid zombie, so that means that he does acid damage. Most of the mobs in this instance do regular electric damage, but the acid zombies, as you can see, they say acid in the name. They do acid damage. So as I was saying, I forget exactly what I was saying right before I got sidetracked with that acid thing, but needless to say, it's just a pain in the butt. Oh, I remember. Last year it seemed like there was a lot of the regular mobs, even the doggies and the acid zombies, that they all had the might buff. They just became impossibly hard, impossibly quickly. Now, it seems just as hard. I only made it through stage 5 last year. I wasn't able to complete stage 6. So it seems just as difficult in that respect. But it seems like they don't all have the might buff, and maybe it's just bad memory. I'd have to go back and watch my other videos to verify. But I want to say that they all had a might buff at one point, or the majority of the mobs in the instance had the might buff. And it seems like it's just the boss mob that does this year, which is weird. Now, the thing is, luckily, you don't have to go through all 25 at once. Like I said, as you saw at the beginning of the video, once you complete a stage, it will unlock the next stage. So you can go back and do previous stages. You're only going to get the mission reward one time. It's not going to give you the mission reward time and again. But you can do it one time, and then you can go back and do previous stages should you feel like it. I'd rather just run Annihilation some more. That's just me. However, you can go back and do stage 1 or stage 2 over and over and over should you feel like it. I was glad they did that from the get-go last year when they revamped Mayhem, because there would be nothing more devastating than getting like all the way to stage 25 and then failing at stage 25 and having to go through 1 through 24 all over again. That would be pretty horrendous. So we're going to wrap it up. I've got a few more to kill. So be sure and hit that bell icon to subscribe to the channel. Be sure and hit that like button, because there's always a hater waiting to hit the dislike button. I've just put out a blank video the other day saying, hey, if any of my friends have an adjusted restoration chip, I think that would help with this kiting thing. If you could let me borrow it. I was willing to give people collateral. I wasn't going to ask for it non-collateralized. And people hit the dislike button on that. So there we go. Mission updated, completed stage 6. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there. I want to save these Accia and Devastim pills if I can. We're just going to go ahead and log out of the game. And head over to earnped.com, because when you earn, we earn. That is by far the best way you guys can help support us. We weren't the first nor the only place to earn pet online, but when you support us there, it really helps us make these videos and make new content for you guys. So I'm going to leave it there for today. We'll be back with more for Halloween Mayhem. For now, sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Take care, Stevies.